Saturday, Auburn and Alabama meet in the South's greatest football rivalry. It will be an historic occasion, the 50th renewal of this classic game. Tonight we have invited dinner guests to celebrate this Alabama-Auburn milestone. Each has played a vital role in making the game such a prominent part of our culture. So join us now for a preview of the Iron Bowl. Well, we're happy that you could join us, and this is, for me, is really a special occasion, getting to meet with four quarterbacks that I've admired, and an opportunity to get a chance to talk with them about Auburn, Alabama football. Let me introduce them. First, we'll start with the old guys and work down.
Old guys.
This is Scott Hunter, number 12, played for the Tide, as you all know, in 68, 69, and 70. And then was a pro for how many years, Scott? 7, 9?
2 knee operations, 4 broken ribs, 2 separated shoulders. That's the way we, the number of years, I don't know, but it's all.
And now is a sportscaster in Mobile, works for CBS Sports, and is a businessman in the Mobile, Pensacola area.
Glad to be with you,
Good friend
Phil.
of mine. Glad to see you again. Pat Sullivan, Auburn's number 7, the Heisman Trophy winner. Those great years in 69 and 70 when Auburn scored so many points on Alabama. Probably the most they ever scored, Pat, don't you?
Well, a couple of years we scored a few points, and then the one year when it really counted, when the championship was on the line, we didn't do too good and only put up 7.
We'll talk about that, too.
It was fun, and again, I, like Scott, appreciate you having me here tonight.
Pat is now a general tire dealer in the Birmingham area, and of course the color commentator, the analyst on the Auburn radio broadcast.
And we do sell to Alabama fans or Auburn fans. I picture Coach Bryant up in my office, so yeah, no prejudice there.
Those of us in the tire business and the TV business have to learn to be
That's
50-50,
right.
This is
don't we?
true. This is true.
Stedman Shealy, number 10, played on 2 national championship teams for Alabama, is now an attorney in Dothan. What's the firm, Stedman?
Button and Cobb.
Very busy young guy, and then also was a coach. All of these guys, by the way, that are here tonight have won against the opposition and have lost. Stedman as a coach, not a player, but we'll talk about winning and losing against them. And then the pup of the bunch, number 14, Randy Campbell, who led Auburn to the great win in 82, ending the long losing streak, and then the championship year for Auburn in 83. Glad to have you guys.
Glad to be here, Phil.
Randy is now with a sports management company in Atlanta. Name of it?
Athletic Management Services.
And they'll be signing up a lot of players in the
We
future.
hope so. We really hope so.
Well, gentlemen, let me tell you that you all have a lot of memories for me and all the folks viewing, I'm sure, and we'll try to relive some of those in the next few minutes, and we'll be back to do that in just a minute.
Watch as the Dodge Boys show you how to get up to $800 in Prospector Package savings on Ram Tough Dodge trucks. What you get is a choice of option packages that include the kind of comfort, style, and good looks features you want. And no matter what, you get Dodge's 5-year or 50,000-mile protection plan. Save up to $800. See how affordable fun can be?
See your local Dodge dealer today.
Yes, sir. May I help you? Oh, you want a banana split. They're delicious, and we don't monkey around on the price. Creamy, smooth DQ filled with plump, ripe bananas topped with fluffy whipped cream, then smothered in your choice of tropical sauces, pineapple, strawberry, or chocolate. Here you are, sir. Some people just go ape over Dairy Queen's banana split.
Enjoy banana splits, only 99 cents, Sunday only.
You've heard it said before, there's no substitute for quality, and that's certainly true when it comes to building. At Marshall Lumber Company, we've been supplying individuals and contractors with quality building materials and lumber for over 67 years. We believe we can give you the quality you want, along with the service you deserve. Whether you're planning to build a house, a picket fence, or a house for your dog, we've got the lumber and materials you need. So come see us, Marshall Lumber Company, 3200 Day Street.
Let's relive a few of these games that these guys were involved in. We'll begin first with Scott back in 68, 24-16 over Auburn. Does that rekindle any Any images for you there, Coach?
Just like it was about an hour ago. I think, like no other game, sometimes the games we played in college are a little indistinct. They kind of blur. But the Auburn-Alabama game, in my memory, particularly the '68 game for some reason, because that was the first time that I played in a varsity game against Auburn, just sticks with me so well. We fumbled late in the game was still up in the air. We fumbled the ball. Buddy C fumbled the ball, and it hit on the ground, and it bounced way up in the air. And Ron Yarborough, the Auburn linebacker, just made a sweep and just caught it on the run, where Yarborough wasn't about to, you can't advance a fumble in college, but Yarborough didn't care. So here comes Yarborough steaming down the sideline with nobody to stop him but me. And I know you can't advance a fumble, and I see the officials blowing the whistle. But I know Coach Brown expected me to do something. And when I saw the look in his eyes, I said, "Ole." It ain't worth it. I'll never forget the look of Ron Yarborough.
And then you and Sullivan locked up with in 2 great games. Of course, Auburn won those games, but there were points everywhere. And let's talk a little bit about those games. What's the both obvious recollection of '69? It was 49-26, and a lot of points on the board.
Well, Phil, I'm kind of like Scott. That Alabama-Auburn game is something special. It's not like any other football game. You can say what you want, but the fans, the media, it's just like us here tonight. Everybody's caught up in the emotion of it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the players have any animosity or want to beat Alabama if you're an Auburn player more than you want to beat Tennessee or Georgia or vice versa. But I think that the whole emotion of the state, and if you're a player and one of the principal objects of it, I think you get caught up in it. So much rides on it. And, of course, me being from Birmingham and having an opportunity to go back to Legion Field and play the first time, it was quite a thrill in '69. And, of course, Auburn hadn't beaten Alabama in, I think, 7 years. And we were fortunate to come out on top. I think that year we probably had a little better football team. We had some big offensive linemen, which as a quarterback, that makes it a heck of a lot easier to do that, especially a young quarterback. We had Banks and Cheek and Greg Robert and Ronnie Ross was our tight end, the 2 Spagners, and we had a good offensive line. And of course, Connie Frederick, everybody will remember that ball game for his faking the punt and running for a touchdown.
80-yard
and
punt return.
I think y'all got we were, I guess, favored to win the ball game. And of course, Mike Colin and Buddy McClinton and some of the defensive people that we had. But you came out and put a bunch of points on the board, and we came back, and I never will forget, we scored right before halftime. Yeah. We went in.
Connie Frederick, wasn't it?
Connie made a great catch. We
catch.
slipped him in at tight end and ran Beasley on the post pattern, sent Connie on a flatten up, and everybody said it was a great catch, which it was, but I felt, how you feel certain things that you did in the ballgame. I thought I'd made a great throw there, and I don't usually talk about things that I did, but I forget who the defender was, but Connie slipped out in the flat and went up the sideline, and the only place that it could be was high into the outside, and I got the ball there, and Connie made a great catch, and we were able to punch it in right before half, and I think either tie it up or take the lead. But
you took the lead, 14-10.
14-10. But then it got real wild and woolly towards the end. But great ball game, and as it's a privilege to play in one of those.
I've never been so tired in my life. I think I threw for 490 or 84 yards in that game. And I'd trade it all.
Yeah.
I'd trade it all for about 20 more points.
It's terrible to play well and not win. I remember, Randy, you remember in the Georgia game where you played probably the greatest game and you all got beat. That must be tough on a quarterback to really play well and do your job and still don't win.
Well, you at Alabama, as Stedman knows, you played for a guy that there was nothing to anything except winning. And it didn't make any difference about record or anything else. And that record still stands, but who cares? We lost the game.
As you told us, there was a guy who's quarterback, he shall remain nameless, but Coach Bryant told him, he says, "You look good in there, but nothing good ever happens."
I think you said that to several of us. You probably heard that too.
Stedman really never knew what it meant to lose to Alabama. That was right in the middle of the 9-game winning streak. I believe it was the 6th and 7th straight win. You all clearly were the best team in those years. How did you play that game knowing you were the best team? Was it pressured?
Well, it was pressure on us because we were playing, being #1 in the nation, and also playing Auburn because, anytime you go into that game, it doesn't matter who's supposed to be better or what. These guys can tell you. They come out there and it's emotional, and you can lose the ball game like we almost did my senior year.
Yeah, they had Brooks and Cribbs.
Oh, had a good offense. They were a little bit weak defensively, but we had them 17-3.
It was 79.
Come back out the second half and thinking, boy, we're just going to let some of the other guys play. Next thing you know, it's 18-17 in the fourth quarter. And I'm going, I can't live in this state if we don't win. We weren't ranked, but #1 in the country, and we're behind.
Yeah, but I recall that fourth quarter drive. That was, it didn't take you many plays to get in the end zone, as I recall.
No, that was probably the highlight of my athletic career. Was being able to drive the ball in 6 plays and then having the wonderful opportunity to score the touchdown. People always kid me because that was probably the only touchdown I really got excited. Jumped up and down and acted.
As I recall, nobody was around you. It was one of those crazy things, wasn't it?
Well, I just jumped inside. They were kind of leaning towards the pitch guy, and next thing you know, I'm in the end zone, and then next thing you know, I'm all excited and feeling a lot better.
And then the little guy here, explain, if you can, relive the emotion of ending the 9-game losing streak in '82.
It was, of the 2 years that I played, that one game had more emotion, the 1982 game, 23-22, than even more than the Sugar Bowl against Michigan, more than the Tangerine Bowl against Boston College. We felt the 9-year streak, and the Auburn fans were really felt like for the first time in a long time that we really had a chance.
I think that's true.
And we were 7-3 or 6-3 going into the game.
7-3.
7-3.
Played 11 games.
7-3.
You guys played.
Yeah, we played the bowl game though. So we were 6-3. It was. I can't even begin to tell you. Before the game started, Coach Crow came over, and we were stretching on the sideline, and I was just shaking my head. I said, "This is unbelievable." The fans were so loud. Normally, the games we'd been to, they weren't there yet. When we were out straight, right when we came out, just a few were there. The stadium was full almost, and it was sort of an overcast day. And I don't remember what the score was at halftime. I want to say we were ahead about 14-13. It was I'm not sure. It was real close.
Yeah, I think you were.
We learned something the week before against Georgia when we played such a good game and lost. We drove the ball down the field and had a penalty on the 9-yard line and wasn't able to score and lost by 5 points. And that game really helped us against Alabama because we had to make a long drive at the end of the game. And when the game was over, Coach Dye sent us back out on the field because the fans were so much a part of the game.
On people's shoulders out there and all.
Lionel James and I were up in the air the whole time we were out. And one thing about that game, though, I felt we won the game, but also I felt probably the lowest point of my entire career I felt in that game for an instant. Worse than losing to Texas and any other game. On that final drive when we got down, we were getting close, I threw the ball to Chris Woods on a post route. Jeremiah Castile intercepted the ball, and I'd gotten knocked down after I threw the ball. And I got up and I wanted to just bury my head in the turf. I mean, that was the worst feeling I'd ever had in my whole life. And I looked toward the sideline, and Coach Dye is on the field about where the numbers are, screaming, pointing down the field, and I look, and there's a yellow flag. And I was praying that day.
That was a hotly disputed call.
Yes, it was.
Very hotly.
Back down the other side of the field was on about the hash mark, too.
Right.
Okay, let's come back and talk some more in just a minute. We'll take this break.
Hi, folks, WD here. The Dodge Aries from Edwards Dodge says it all. Efficiency, new styling, affordable price, quality built, and backed by Chrysler Corporation's 5-year, 50,000-mile protection plan. Choose from a great selection of 2 doors, 4 doors, or the extra roomy Aries wagon. Pack up the kids and the dog. Mr. Butch is going to tell you about a special price.
WD, the Dodge Aries is a special price with no money down, 100% financing to qualified buyers at Edwards Dodge, 1070 Eastern Bypass at I-85.
Some people say it's not polite to brag, but I quarterbacked the first Auburn win over Alabama in 1949. I still shop at J&M Bookstore.
Travis, that was the 14-13 game because I led the parade, and my husband started J&M Bookstore.
I was Miss War Eagle in 1983, and I just love J&M.
Now for 3 generations, J&M Bookstore has served students, alumni, and fans with Auburn souvenirs, books, and supplies. Now there's a reason to brag.
A tiger of a bookstore. No brag, just fact.
Everybody's going to Toby's Toys, America's giant discount toy store.
For the kid in all of us.
About 500,000 toys to choose from.
Miss Piggy? How embarrassing.
Hundreds of bikes and riding toys, plus everything you need to have a great time. You'll find every famous name and fun at discount prices.
Toby's Toys is great!
Toby's Toys, America's giant discount toy store.
This year, you can get your after Thanksgiving sale savings before Thanksgiving at Gaffer's. During Gaffer's gigantic pre-Thanksgiving sale, now through this Wednesday. 4 days of store-wide savings. These sale prices will not be lower the day after Thanksgiving. Now you can shop before Thanksgiving and save. Also register free in every department for one of 36 turkeys to be given away Tuesday at 10 a.m. Gaffer's gigantic pre-Thanksgiving sale, now through Wednesday. Montgomery Mall, Eastdale, and Auburn.
Gentlemen, let's talk some about the upcoming game and begin by talking about the emotion of the game. It's unusual in that it is the biggest game of the year, and you have 2 weeks to get ready. Does emotion begin to be a factor? You can't stay excited for 2 weeks about a football game, can you? And isn't it true that the team that handles the emotion the best is probably the team that's going to play best on Saturday? Stephen?
I think you don't really begin to feel the emotion until the week of the game. It's kind of the end of the year, you're tired, and of course we all know by then you don't enjoy practicing as much. So the first week you kind of go through it and this same old thing, and then come Monday it begins to build, and then you get the phone calls. Like I had a few phone calls my senior year where a fan calls up and says, "Listen, Stedman, it's life or death. You got to win." I'm going, well, okay, we'll do our best, you know. And you know,
is that your mother?
And this year especially, since we were fortunate enough to beat Auburn, but this year everybody's kind of thinking, well, you know, Auburn may beat us, so I imagine it's a little bit more pressure on Alabama.
I think Alabama probably peaked at just last year. They handled it just right. When you say they seemed more ready to play than Auburn last year.
Well, I thought that Alabama played at probably a little higher emotional pitch last year, and you know, Alabama was a pretty good football team last year.
Yeah.
They had a couple of things that went against them, and they played a lot of young people. But you know, they had the good defense, and anytime you got the good defense, you can beat anybody. And you take people like Cornelius Bennett and Jarvis and Hand and Soul, and of course their defensive backs, and were good players. And you get the good defense going for you, and the other guy can't get in the end zone real easy, and you put a few points on the board, and all of a sudden all the pressure goes on them. And I think that's probably what happened. But
how did Coach Bryant try to handle and build up to that, Scott?
Coach Bryant sort of approached it sort of the opposite of what you would think. What he would try to do is not build a big emotional peak. I don't want to ruin anybody's dinner or anything, but he would use a term that sometimes we use with our children about wipe your nose. He didn't want anybody's nose running, you know, all excited and throwing all that stuff. Anyway, he wanted everybody to be cool and be calm and be collected, and then he would go absolutely berserk.
Yeah.
Everybody else better be cool, calm, and collected.
That's kind of like Pat Dye. In the Georgia game, he goes a little berserk, too.
Sure does.
Well, how did Pat Dye bring you guys along with it?
Well, of course, Coach Dye coached under Coach Bryant, and I feel like he retained a lot of his character, and he learned a lot from him and has molded himself into much the same type of coach. Coach Dye's a lot the same way. He's calm during the week. He stands in his tower and observes practice, and you know, he more or less coaches the coaches, and the coaches coach us. But he definitely goes berserk on Saturdays also. He's a live wire on Saturday.
We have an interesting factor in this game. We can all speak to it, but Pat Sullivan can speak better than most. We have the Heisman factor this time. Pat Sullivan's team went into the Auburn game in '71. You had just been awarded the Heisman Trophy on Thursday, you played on Saturday, and Alabama ripped you wide open. What's different about that year and the possibilities of this year in your mind, Pat?
Well, Phil, you know, realistically, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if they hadn't made the announcement of the Heisman Trophy on Thursday, that we'd have won the Alabama football game. That's, you know, absurd to say that. I think it was a definite distraction for us. When someone is in contention for the Heisman, or at least in my case, our football team, coaches, everyone around Auburn felt that they were a part of it. With the announcement being made on Thursday night, it was just like the emotional pitch of playing in Alabama or playing in Georgia or Tennessee. And when the announcement was made and everyone gathered at the Coliseum, and you were probably there, I don't remember, it was a highly emotional thing. But leading up to the preparation of the Alabama game, you know, with it being on Thursday, everybody was more concerned about this, and there wasn't a lot going. And then all of a sudden you wake up on Friday morning, you're boarding the bus, and you say, heck, we got to go play Alabama. And I'll never will forget, I was sitting talking to Coach Jordan, and you know, I said, Coach, I said, let me say something to the team. And right before we were leaving Sewell Hall, I could tell, he could tell, everybody could. I mean, it was a festive mood. It wasn't a serious mood. And, you know, I said something like, you know, I appreciate this, and without you guys, and which I meant that, you know, I'd never won it. I said, now we've got to get ready to go play Alabama. Well, it was too late then. You can't prepare for a ball game in a day. And of course, Alabama had the great team. They had the wishbone that they had put in. And
Davis and Musso.
And they took the ball and they controlled it, and we didn't get it back, and they beat us. It was a close ball game to right towards the end, and then I threw an interception that I'll never forget, and I think Jeff Rousey picked it off and took it in for a touchdown. And it was a 14-7 ball game at the time, and then they went on and beat us. But that was probably the most disappointing day. You know, we had our senior class had been fortunate enough to win the 3 ball games that we had played against Alabama and go out that way.
The difference here this time, if Bo should win the Heisman, will be that the announcement will be made a week after, which
I think that's great for Bo's part.
But what do you think, guys? Getting to play a Heisman Trophy winner or one you expect to win it, doesn't that add something to the defensive emotion to go up against people like that? I mean, don't you think
I think
that
your
makes it easy?
defense loves a challenge.
Yeah.
I know I can't say much being an offensive player, but I can remember hearing our defensive players talk about guys that were up for the Heisman and how that they were going to have a big plan for them. And then after the game, if they stopped into like 80 yards or 100 yards rushing, boy, they were all fired up because they'd done something.
That's right.
And it was a little extra challenge. And it's good for your team. They love that challenge. All football players love the challenge of somebody great. And of course, we're going to have a challenge stopping Bo Jackson.
You know, they used to say this game runs to form, but it has not run to form in the last few years. Why is that? Scott, what do you think?
I don't know where you got that saying. Runs to form.
I can remember Van Hoos and a lot of people writing that the favorite team is usually going to win this game. But that hasn't been the case in 2 of the last 3 years. Alabama was a favorite in '82, and Auburn was a favorite in '84, and there were the upsets. So I guess when the game gets close,
I think that the writers may write and the TV people may say, and I fall in that category, that so-and-so is going to win the game because we've got to do that. But you know, we all played the game. The 4 of us that played the game know that all that stuff that the Birmingham or Montgomery paper or the WSFA is going to say doesn't mean a hill of beans. Once that ball starts going end over end to start that game, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. It doesn't make any difference if Auburn's 10-point favorite or Alabama's a 10-point favorite. You're out there and you know you're going to have a chance to win the football game. If you bust your butt and stay in it, you're going to have a chance to win the football game. And whatever the press or media might say. I always felt that way.
I think one thing, like last year, I was at the game and I watched Auburn, and I'd watched them some all year. I think for the first time, Auburn went out there last year saying, you know, we got something to lose. And that may be a little bit of a factor because
you all felt that.
I felt like Auburn was a better team. They should have possibly won the ball game going in. And then all of a sudden Alabama wins. And you looked at Auburn and you said, well, they were a little bit, they were flat. They just didn't quite seem to have that intensity. And you never know, when players know they have something to lose a little bit because they were supposed to be better, you know, that may have some effect. You never know what on a given Saturday.
Coach Bryant was a great coach to coach against that, wasn't he?
Very much so. I think Coach Bryant, his greatest asset was he would get you ready for Saturday and make you realize that anything can happen. And the thing he always made us realize, and made me realize, and it's something I carry with me because I am one fortunate that I didn't lose an iron bowl, but he'd always say, he says, you'll live with that the rest of your life. And I bet you we heard that day after day after day. You'll live with it the rest of your life. Of course, we all been sitting around with my two heroes here when I was in junior high. And used to be Scott Hunter and Pat Sullivan as a little guy. You know, we've been reminiscing and talking about it, and they're little areas that we all hurt from, good or bad.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. Come back in just a minute.
Here's the newest four-wheeler from Hunter Honda Yamaha, Honda's first four-wheel drive. This 4x4 eagerly tackles all sorts of farm, ranch, and construction chores. And when you're through with the work, the fun begins. Hunter Honda Yamaha is your big volume four-wheeler dealer with all the 4-Trax 4x4s, 250s, 200s, 125s, and the 4-Trax 70s. Lay away for Christmas now at Hunter Honda Yamaha.
This week at Superfoods and Big Bear, Hardy Maxwell House regular ADC or Electroperk coffee is just $1.89 a 1-pound vacuum pack bag. Betty Crocker layer cake mixes are just 58 cents an 18.5-ounce box. Make a USDA Grade A Super True basted turkey the star of your table. Each turkey is just 68 cents a pound. And US #1 russet potatoes are 98 cents a 10-pound bag. Just in time for Thanksgiving from Superfoods and Big Bear.
Now, for the first time, Jack Ingram Motors has assembled the largest selection of brand new Porsches ever. The 911, the 930 Turbo lookalike, the 944, the unparalleled 928. Experience the pure pleasure of driving a Porsche at the only dealership in the Southeast that could bring them together for you. An incredible selection of Porsches now at Jack Ingram Motors. The choice of luxury, the luxury of choice.
Last year I went to the game without a ticket. I was going to buy one before the game, could not get in. Oval James, our assistant athletic director, gave me a sideline pass when he was getting on the elevator to go to the box.
That's the only way you got the game?
If I would have not have seen him, I would not have got to see the game.
Randy Campbell, who led Auburn to victories in '82 and '83, had to grope around and get him a sideline pass.
I didn't think I was going to get in the game.
Sullivan, you'll have a press pass, and
I've got my
Scott,
pass.
you'll have a press pass.
My 2 press passes, and I'm guarding them carefully.
We don't know what you're going to do, Stedman. Maybe you can wrangle the...
Truth be known, Stedman's probably going to watch it on TV in Dothan.
Possibility.
Gentlemen, it's been great. Good luck to you all. God bless you all.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.